Winning isn't everything, but it's the only thing. In our business, there is no second place. Either you're first or you're last.
It was named after Vince Lombardi. You play in Green Bay. As important as it is to any other team, it means more to us.
When he walked into the meeting, he looked us right in the eye. He said, "Gentlemen, we're going to relentlessly chase perfection."
My first thought was on any play with my arm strength, I may not let anybody know this, but my first thought was home run. On every play. On every play.
He did what? Fires into the end zone. Caught! Touchdown! No!
Welcome back to the Packers Corner. We got it done. Big win for the Pack over the Chargers this week here. I want to jump right in right off the bat here, and we got a little game ball presentation. Let's take a listen in here.
We got one game ball today. First time in 2 years that a Green Bay Packer quarterback has thrown for over 300 yards. 40 in 2 tugs over 300 yards. Stop.
You think the guys were happy for Jordan Love at all there? Schmitty, we didn't see a 300-yard performance last year. Was it pretty fun to see 10 slinging it this week?
You know, it was, right? I'm wondering if MLF was a little slight at Aaron for his performances last season. That's kind of how I took it. And then our friend Rashawn says, "Stop effing playing with him." I think that might be true, Griffey. I think we just might have something here with our friend number 10. Yeah, a fantastic performance. How can you not be excited about that? That ball to Romeo. Certainly some of the young guys showed up for him, got a lot of yak. Dontavian Wicks that one play. But damn, 300-yard performance for a first-year QB. How can you not be romantic about football?
We got it done. Big win. Of course, over Chargers that have been up and down, to say the least. Their defense was interesting. It was fun tuning into the QB school this week with JT O'Sullivan, and he couldn't help himself but to criticize some of the things they were doing on defense. We, of course, still had the big miss to Luke Musgrave. That would have been pretty consequential, but a lot to like from Jordan Love, of course, Dad. Do you think this was a good win, good performance by Jordan Love? Or do you think some of the ball just bouncing the right way played a bigger role in us getting it done? We, of course, saw a bunch of drops from Keenan Allen, the big drop at the end from Quentin Johnston. What were your thoughts on the game and how we were able to get it done?
There's, of course, a karma to the game. There's the bounces. There's the way things work out. I think we've certainly had our share of the bad bounces, the borderline calls, the things going against us that have cost us 3 or 4 games. I think it was our turn to get a couple of those. And it's kind of returning to the mean here in terms of those consequential, lucky plays. And we certainly did have our share. I mean, thank you very much, Keenan, for dropping 2 touchdown passes, and the rookie number 1 who's got butterfingers. We've certainly seen our guys do that. I think the interesting discussion here is the way that team, as I see my picture fading here, is the way that team is rallying around its quarterback. There's something in that locker room that fits into the intangible category for the way that they are pulling around their young quarterback. Clearly, he is connecting with those guys off the field and on the field. And there's a lot to be said when the team loves the guy that they're playing for and would run through a wall for him. And I think we're seeing some of that right now.
Well, Smitty thought maybe there was a bit of a veiled shot from MLF and the 300-yard remark there. Was that a bit of a veiled shot at Aaron Rodgers there from you, Dad? Talking about the guys loving to play for him?
I really don't see it that way. I mean, I think it's just reality. I think it's saying what the team wants to hear, giving them a chance to rally around the guy there. Aaron Rodgers has got his stock in the bank. I mean, we love what Aaron Rodgers did. That's never going to change. But now we got a new guy, and it's time to rally around him and support him. And we can get into the kind of the deer camp discussion about the quarterback, which is emblematic, I think, of the fan base, that those have seen enough and believe that Jordan Love is going to be the guy for the future. Is he all the way there yet? No, I'm one of those guys that's seen enough. I've seen the high end talent. I can project out 2 to 3 years. I think it's time to start negotiating with his agent and seeing if you can get him a little bit of a cheap extension, maybe a 3-year extension on $100 million, a $33 million a year, rather than the $50 million going rate that these other teams are signed up for. You may feel different after the next 2 games. He may come back a little bit. I don't know, but I think it's time. And then we have guys in the deer camp. They haven't seen enough. Oh my goodness, no, it's not time to extend them. And you might have to listen. We're not going to be in position to draft one of the quarterbacks. We're going to win too many games. We're not going to be in position to draft the wide receiver from Ohio State. And so it's time to get realistic. And I think that means that you strongly consider talking to Jordan Love's agent and seeing what you can do.
Well, yeah, I think on the Aaron Rodgers point, whether or not there's anything to be said for the guys particularly wanting to play with Jordan Love, I think the truth of the matter is he's the right quarterback for this team, right? We got a young nucleus of guys, and it's just the right fit at this point in time. And it's fun to see it when it goes well. We've certainly see it go the other way at times here this year, but we've found ourselves in a position here where things have gotten pretty interesting if you look forward just a little bit at the rest of the schedule. So a little foreshadowing there. I think we'll have to do that in just a bit. Before we check in there, I wanted to just highlight a couple facts, a couple factors that we saw on the Twitter sphere this week. One of the common things that I think has been floating around is that Jordan Love can't throw the deep ball. And I've been someone that's levied this criticism on him for sure, but he has the most in the NFL of 30-plus yard gaining completions at 18 in the whole league. Schmitty, what do you make of that fact, despite some of the maybe underthrows that we've seen far down the field?
That's quite a shocking stat, honestly. Seeing how some of these games have played out for us, where it seemingly doesn't look like we get the ball down the field more than 5 yards, or we're working right at the line of scrimmage. So to see that stat, certainly surprising. The arm talent is there. I don't think we've ever denied the arm talent. It's just a matter of, is there the accuracy that's there? He's gotten some yak plays that have gone his way to over hit that mark of 30 yards. But I'm not surprised, I guess, that he's leading that. And I guess it's just that optimism. Then you're optimistic that this can continue. Um, yeah, I'm impressed. That's quite the stat, Griffey. I love it, and I'm actually really excited to see how we perform tomorrow.
Well, your guy Peter Bugowski, Dad, that we check in on his podcast here for the Packers, had gotten in a little bit of a Twitter battle with someone who made that same point that you did, Schmidt, about the yards after catch, and this guy was a little bit more vehement, was really critical of Love, saying, "Oh, it's all yards after the catch," and if you look at the stats in particular, it's really been a lot of down the field throws too. He did, of course, have that Wicks play we just highlighted, but it's been a lot of just long air yards throws too. So he hasn't connected necessarily on the big, deep 50-yard balls to Christian Watson very consistently, but his sort of 30-ish yard, 20 to 30-ish yard air yard throws have been really impressive. So I just thought that was an interesting stat. The other thing we've harped plenty on this year has been Joe Barry. And despite getting the win, Justin Herbert was on fire against us. He was really the victim of a couple Keenan Allen drops, which you don't see very often, but he had his best passer grade from PFF of his whole career, rather. Dad, what'd you make of the defensive performance that we saw? It was enough to get it done, but maybe left a little more to be desired.
I was about fit to be tied when I saw the way MLF managed our last sequence of downs. When on 2nd down and 6, we handed the ball off, committing ourselves on 3rd down to hand it off. I thought we needed to play action on 2nd down, rolled Love out, put the ball in his hands away against that secondary, make one more play, get the ball deep down the field. You got a first down and you win the game with your offense on the field. I was just worried sick we were going to punt the ball back and San Diego was going to easily go down the field, kick the tying field goal, if not get a touchdown. So I got to give Barry credit. They got to stop there. I sure would not have played that. The way that the way that our head coach did there. I would have wanted Jordan Love on a rollout with a run pass option on second down, where I think play action would have just been extremely effective. And why would you not do it at that point with the kind of game that Jordan Love had had? But it worked out. No, my one of my great worries to answer your question is that we do well enough here at the end of the season, and I think you'll show probably here in a little bit that our last 5 games, our games were probably going to be favored in at least 4 of those games, if not all 5. That we win enough of those games that then LaFleur decides to keep Joe Barry. That would be my nightmare scenario, and I want us to win, but I do not want us to win to the point where we keep Joe Barry. I'm thinking of Brian Flores over in Minnesota. Every time I watch that defense, I just am salivating. They're dictating to the offense. They got the line of scrimmage all full of potential blitzers. Who knows what's coming or what's going? We don't dictate to the offense. They dictate to us, and it's time that we change that. So that's my long-winded answer to your good question.
Yeah, well, fair enough. I wouldn't have minded to see Jordan Love have the ball in his hands to try and make a final play there on that last drive. We saw him, of course, lead us down the field for this impressive touchdown drive to take the lead, and then they totally took the ball out of his hands when it mattered most, and put some trust in the defense. So, it got to a position we were sitting there watching the game at the cabin, where after we made LA burn all their timeouts, I said it just takes one play to go wrong on offense, and time becomes an issue. And they, of course, had the fumbled snap, and it worked out to our advantage. Well, however it shook out, I was just happy to see us get a win. And that was a big one because, as I alluded to, it brings into call, dare I say it, some playoff scenarios. I want to look
Oh,
ahead
you did it. You did
just
it.
a little bit here and take a
Oh.
look. So, as we sit here today, the simulator from the New York Times that looks at all the permutations and the likelihood of all these games gives us a 23% chance of making the playoffs as we stand here today. But I want to do something interesting. Let's in all fairness, we'd love to see things go differently tomorrow and Thanksgiving. We'll make our projections here shortly, but let's say for argument's sake, the Lions get it done. And then we go up against, maybe the greatest young quarterback of this era. Chiefs get it done too. But let's play along here. We should be favored against Tommy DeVito. We go and beat Baker Mayfield, take care of Bryce Young, write the Bears off. We don't need to think about that one, hopefully. And that means this Viking matchup on New Year's Eve gets pretty interesting. If we're somehow able to get that one done, the odds of us making the playoffs go to 91% is what I see typically. This version of the simulation is just saying 90. Schmitty, what do you make of all that?
Why do you do this? Why do you do this to our poor listeners? They tune in, the faithful every week, and then you got to spew garbage like this. Why? Why is it? Why are you the way that you are? To 5 games, the end of the season, I do agree. If we're not favored in 4 of the 5, that there's something wrong there with the odds makers. But we're known to get let down, and we've seen a lot of letdowns already this season. Pretty optimistic to think that we're going to rattle off the last 5. Um, I don't hate the optimism, but there's certainly a game that we lose in there, and I'm not
Schmitty,
surprised if it comes right thereafter and we lose to the Giants, who just won handily against the Commanders. So,
Schmitty, you want to see some optimism? Let's say we get it done against the Lions here. 100%
oh
we're
my
in the
god,
playoffs, my friend. Let's go. Let's go. Dad, what do you think about the
Oh.
schedule as it shapes up there?
I said at the beginning of the season that I saw ascending talent all over the field, and I wanted to see how they came together and gelled and started to become pros, and that I would be thrilled to death if we could get into December and have our nose into some kind of playoff contention. And it looks like we might have that. I never thought that making the playoffs was any kind of a certainty or that we were great contenders in that regard. But I think it would do wonders for this team to play some games with playoff contention and playoff eligibility as a background for the game so that you're in a playoff like situation. How sweet, how delicious would it be to go into the bank? What was that on New Year's Eve? And have that game with playoff implications. And we get to see how our young baby Packers are growing up right before our eyes, get to see what Jordan Love could do. And win, lose, or draw, I think that would be a hugely successful season if we could have that late into the season a playoff implication game, and then let's go up against Rocket Man, burning up the sky up there alone. I think it's going to be a long, long time. Whatever it is, Elton John and the Green Bay Packers at the bank for all the marbles potentially. What a deal! I would love to speak it into existence. I'd take it 100% of the time and let the chips fall where they may, boys.
The love train versus the pastronaut. That could shape up to be a pretty important game down the stretch there. I wanted to do a little check in on some of the bold predictions that we made to start the year. See where we're at on that front. We'll show our records here up to this point too, which has been up and down with an up and down season for the Pack. My bold prediction, that I really had two of them, was that Jordan Love would beat Aaron Rodgers' marks last year in yards, touchdowns, and completion percentage. Completion percentage not looking so good, but as we sit here today, he's on pace to beat him in both the yards and touchdowns. So we'll see how that finishes up for the rest of the season. Dad, you had Jaden Reed would post a better stat line than Jackson Smith and Jigba, which is looking pretty good. And that dovetailed with my prediction for Jaden Reed, which was he would emerge as the number one wide receiver for the Packers here. So both of those looking pretty good. Schmitty's bold prediction was A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones would not be starting in the second half of the season. And, due to some injuries and some issues there, that's looking reasonable too, at least as we march into next week's game. So we're doing pretty good on our bold predictions here. Let's talk about some predictions for this coming week. We have, of course, a heck of a matchup on Thanksgiving here against the Detroit Lions. Schmitty, what are your thoughts on this matchup? And maybe let's take a step back before we dive all the way into it. Dad, can you give us an update on the injury report so we know what we're dealing with as we think about the game?
Yeah, just check the Packer website right before we came on, and it does look like questionable status, which usually belies a player that does go in the game. Ford back with the bicep. Devondre Campbell elevated to questionable. The Devontae Wicks apparently progressing in concussion protocol, which is, or excuse me, Dontavian Wicks, isn't it? Wicks. Probably going to play in the game. He's been huge for us, led all receivers with 91 yards. Talking about a yak play, Schmitty. Holy mackerel, that was a dandy last week. And Jair Alexander updated to questionable. Out for the game for sure. Jones, Savage, DeGuara. I think Stokes is on IR, and God bless our. Now, Schmitty was nicked up a little bit last night, which is why we couldn't go. Nothing quite like the Musgrave lacerated kidney, but hopefully Schmitty's little boo-boo is okay now and we're able to go there. But boy, Musgrave, bad one. Sometimes it's a football injury. This was a terrific injury that we're glad to hear that he's getting better. But the lacerated kidney, you don't know. You hope his rookie season isn't over. But I will say this. I love our boy Tucker Kraft. He showed me more agility in that one run down the sideline up into the stands for the Lambeau leap, 1 inch out of bounds with the 1 foot. I'm really anxious to see what he can do with his short area receptions and yak and run after the catch. So we're okay, I think, on the injury front. We got enough guys to make it a contest. Let's see what happens.
Smitty, with that in mind, what are your thoughts on our Thanksgiving matchup?
I initially looked at how the Lions played the Chargers a couple weeks back, I think, and it was really a boat race, and how our injuries worked out going into this game. You consider, all right, you don't have Aaron Jones. You're going to rely heavily on Dylan. Your tight end Musgrave is out. You're probably going to get yourself involved in another boat race. Thankfully, we just had a quarterback that just threw for over 300 yards, and it hasn't been done in the last 2 seasons. So you have that going for you. The Packers are 7.5 point underdogs. Quite the spread. 11:30 kickoff. Who knows what can happen, Griffey? I've had myself some poor night's rest in a hotel. I've had some really good ones. So hopefully the Packers are staying up at the Ritz Carlton of near Ford Field, if one exists. My friend, put that calculator back up, that 99%. Packers are going to win tomorrow. They're going to win by 3 points. It's going to be 35-32. Pack. Hit the over, hit Jordan Love overs, all the touchdowns to Reed and Wicks. We're going to put on a show. I think, what's his name? Jack Harlow is going to be singing at halftime. He'll be singing the tunes of the Green Bay Packers.
Little
Packers
green
win
and
big.
yellow.
Yes, green and yellow.
Does our boy Christian Watson find the end zone on a big one? Can we get
Hopefully
one
he's
of
not
those?
even on the airplane to the game. Hopefully he's back at Lambeau. He has no business. I really don't care much about whatever he decides to do. Hopefully he sleeps in and locks himself in the hotel room. We don't need him tomorrow.
Wow, tell us how you really feel there, Schmitty. Dad, thoughts? Thanksgiving, we gonna get it done?
We played the Denver Broncos in Super Bowl. What was it? The one we lost with Favre. And we were favored by 14.5 points in that game. And something called Tyler Davis goes
Terrell.
off and runs. Terrell Davis, excuse me, runs through us like a hot knife through butter. We keep Gabe Wilkins off the team. And we don't have a defensive end to counter that wide zone play that the beady-eyed rat named Shanahan threw at us. It was a terrible day for the Packers. But what happens? You're the big favorite. Who knows? So Detroit's the big favorite. We'll see. I invoked when pride still mattered last week. Of course, still got my 15 on. I'm not taking this baby off. In all good conscience, I can't pick the Packers, but I just hope I'm wrong. I hope Schmitty is right. I got to say the Lions probably get it done. And that'll be my pick with my head. But I'll save some picks with my heart for a little later in the season. And let's just hope I'm wrong on this one. And the Packers win the turnover battle. That rookie kicker finds the middle of the uprights. We get a tipped ball, or we get into the quarterback over there. What's his name? The old LA boy who threw 3 interceptions, Jared Goff. Let's get a few tip balls and let's prove me wrong. I'd be happy to do that. I dragged you over the finish line with me last week, Griff, when I got all excited and invoked Vince Lombardi, and you decided to pick the Packers with me over the Chargers. But I've got to pick with my head this week, and let's just hope I'm wrong.
You're right. Yeah, I do have to give you credit for my pick last week. Your motivational speech brought me and the Packers over the line here. Maybe a couple players tuned in and were ready to run through a brick wall for you there. They got it done. You're really trying to bring us down this week, but I'm not going to let you. We're getting it done here. Green and gold. I've said it time and time again, and maybe I'll be right one of these times. So far, it hasn't been true, but I don't believe in the Detroit Lions yet. I want to see them win one when it matters. I don't believe it. I don't believe that Detroit can get it done. And I think we're ascending. By the same token, the defense we played earlier in the year at Lambeau from Detroit was pretty impressive at that point in time. They have not been impressive in recent weeks. I think people are on to what they're doing to some degree, and that we're going to be able to take a step forward. We get another performance like we saw last week out of Jordan Love. And I think it's going to come down to him hitting a crucial throw at a crucial time And frankly, he didn't do that against the Chargers, particularly on that Musgrave throw. He came back with the touchdown drive to Romeo Doubs. But I think he's going to make the crucial throw at the crucial time this week. The Packers are going to get it done. And the other thing that we should keep in mind is it really doesn't matter. All we need to do is take care of business in the last 5. This is just gravy, but it's Thanksgiving. Let's take our gravy. What do you say about that?
I like
Love
it.
Love it.
Heck yeah. Well, it's gonna be a fun one to watch. 11:30 tomorrow. Thanksgiving, big celebration, of course. Not appreciated enough holiday as far as I'm concerned. Let's take some time to be thankful. Let's be thankful about a Packers win, hopefully to boot. But do you have any final thoughts to leave our viewers with here, Schmitty?
Everyone, please pass all the dishes. You know, when you're at the dinner table, and it really sucks when you don't pass along all the dishes. You flight left to right, left to right. You keep it moving until everyone has something on their plate. And the courteous thing is not to start eating until everyone's made their plate. Have a nice supper with everyone, embrace the people that you love, and enjoy a Packers victory tomorrow. I can't wait, Griffey. Lots of gravy. Extra.
I love it. Dad, closing thoughts?
Well, I think I'll invoke John Madden. You got to cut that turducken right down the middle, and you get that thing opened up, and you got the turkey on the outside, then the duck in the middle, and the chicken on the bottom, and you got to pick the one you want. Before you eat it, bow your head, say a little grace, thank the Lord for all the blessings we have, being able to live in a free country, being able to watch football, being able to sit in a tree stand, being able to join together with our loved ones and enjoy the Green Bay football Packers, the tradition, the rivalry. You know what? I will say this. We owe Detroit 1, if not 2. They have gotten to us the last couple times. And even when Rodgers was there and we were doing well, they got the last 5 years, what? They've I think got us in this rivalry. So maybe, just maybe, could we have another Rodgers to Rodgers Hail Mary in the end zone, finish off the game in grand fashion, something like that, with Jordan Love throwing one up? Maybe it'll be your boy, Schmitty. Maybe Watson will surprise us. Whoever it is, doesn't matter. Let's just get one. And then we have a lot to be thankful for. We already do, no matter how it goes. And we're not done, no matter what the outcome is. So God bless us all. Thank you, Lord, for all the gifts we have. And let's go get them tomorrow.
Amen.
I'm off to see Napoleon tonight, guys. Napoleon took the army down to the pyramids in Egypt. Can you imagine going from France down to the pyramids? And his quote was, 40 centuries of history look down upon us. I don't know if we quite have that history in American football here, but boy, it's going to be glorious and prestigious when we get it done. Thanksgiving win, start off the Jordan Love era here in season number 1. Take care. Have a happy Thanksgiving, guys. We'll tune in next week.
Happy Thanksgiving. Love you all.